All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
a very angry man.
Oh, who is this mysterious man? I can't...
They know who it is. Listen, Michael. We've had this discussion before about your comic book picks and how they tend to irritate and anger me, and we may have reached a new low with this
Well,
this
good,
week.
because I don't care. Anyway, I'm sure that when you're picking the human fly and
Yes.
whatever else you've picked, you
Human fly
certainly
is
don't
tremendous.
care about how I feel about those picks, do you?
The human fly is tremendous. But go ahead, Michael. Tell the people what we're reading this week.
We are reading Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. And even though I've known about this comic my whole life, I was first exposed to the complete series via perusing G.I. Jolie's long boxes. And because of that, we have G.I. Jolie.
Which is not a euphemism.
All right. Just wanted to check.
Just wanted to
anyway,
clarify.
Yeah. That came out wrong. But anyway, G.I. Jolie. And so we decided to have her as a guest this week. Hello, G.I. Jolie.
Hello.
G.I. Jolie. Now, so you were obviously a fan of Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld.
I am. My mantra always is, if you can be a space princess first, be a space princess. No matter who.
I don't know. When I heard the title of this book, I had never heard of this, Jolie, until Michael brought it up.
Yeah.
And I just heard, well, this sounds like a cross between like Rainbow Bright and My Little Pony. And
Your mind didn't immediately go to Shira?
No.
That's
But
weird.
when now you've known Michael longer than me,
Yes.
so you can be honest here, just between us, no one's listening. Is Mike L a brony?
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's a relief.
I'm not nearly cool enough to be a brony.
Because I was very
No,
concerned
not nearly.
with
Yeah.
his selection of Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld.
But she's
So,
not
yeah.
a pony, so I don't understand the correlation.
Because it's very close to My Little Pony and Rainbow Bright in my mind. And then, Michael, though, when I looked at the cover, because I'd never seen it, I looked at the cover. I'm like, oh well, this is like a classic comic book kind of. This is good art. Maybe this is interesting. And then that faded as soon as I got into the book.
Well, not everything can be just about, guys punching other guys in the face named Destructor.
But Michael, you're not. Listen, this book is great if you're like a 7-year-old girl. But I don't know how many 7-year-old girls listen to this podcast. And if they are,
I don't know
frankly,
how many
their parents
people
should be ashamed.
I don't know how many
if they're
people listen to this
listening
podcast, period. But
I think it's 3. By my
beside
count,
the
it's
point.
3.
Okay.
And
Oh,
they are 3
that's
of
funny.
the nicest people you'd ever want to meet, and I think you should apologize to them right now for making them listen to Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld.
Can I guess who they are? Is it
Yes.
Pork Carrot, Kevin
Yep.
Jank, and sometimes Larry? Or
Larry never listens.
Never. No, it's I know who it is. It's what's his name? He's a
Cousin
follows us on
Brandon.
Twitter.
Brandon's
No.
too drunk to listen to anything. I think our buddy DOT fan on the Twitters, he likes to listen sometimes.
Right.
So yeah. But
No, you know
Well,
what?
now we'll get a
I-
whole new demographic of people listening.
Yep.
Because,
I think all those people. Yeah, go ahead, Jolie.
Yeah. Because why wouldn't you love a princess with superpowers?
all right, just go. Let's talk about it, Michael. Because Michael, guess what? I didn't research anything. So you tell us all about Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld.
Sure. Oh, and I knew that you wouldn't do your job this week. I should have
I
known.
hope so.
I should have known.
Well, I did your
Prejudice.
notes this week, so I just wrote down disperse. So I'm ready to go.
Oh, crap. And it's a good thing because I deleted that. So it's a good thing you wrote it down here. So Princess of Gemworld, created by Dan Mishkin and Gary Cohn, whom we all love from... Dan Mishkin we know from his run on Wonder Woman, a great run. And I just reread it recently, and it's probably my favorite of the Bronze Age. Ernie Colón I'm not overly familiar with, but...
No, but he had a really long run at DC. Like, he was an editor at one point.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Ernesto Colón Sierra. He actually died a couple years ago, R.I.P. But I looked him up because I was just curious to see if he was related to Gene Colón.
Okay,
but no,
yeah. But
totally
spelling,
different people.
Yeah.
Different spellings, yeah.
Yeah. Totally different families, totally different heritages. Yeah, and he started. I was reading. Sorry to cut in, but I was reading. I was reading an article, an interview with Dan Mishkin, and he was talking about how Ernie Colón had started at the company as an artist, and he was kind of, seeing, this new guy's art and was really interested in it when they were developing the idea for Amethyst.
Well, it's funny because I'm not overly familiar with his art, but from the looks of it here, of all the companies he worked for, the biggest chunk of work he did was for Harvey Comics. Now, Mike Dell, are you familiar with Harvey Comics?
Are they like Richie Rich and that kind of stuff?
Exactly. Richie Rich, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Little Dot,
Archie,
Wendy the Good Little Witch.
Who was the little devil guy?
That was Hot Stuff. Yep, Hot Stuff, the Little Devil. He did number 110 and 117.
They all looked like Casper and Richie Rich, though.
Right, exactly.
No, Hot Stuff's the man.
Even
what
Wendy.
years did they come out? Can we do a Hot Stuff issue on?
Actually, 1992. Oh, we can't.
No, Hot Stuff was way before that.
It was. He worked. If he worked there. If he worked at Harvey, it was between the 50s and the 70s. Is that not?
Wait a minute. Hold on, Mike Dell. You might be in luck. So he did do Hot Stuff number 3 in 1992, but he also did Hot Stuff The Little Devil number 110 in 1972. So we can do Hot Stuff The Little Devil. There's next week's
Get ready. Hot Stuff's coming up on Flea Market Fantasy.
Yeah.
And just for the record, now this is more up your lane, Mike Dell. He also did some Marvel comics, Battlestar Galactica. He did 2099 Unlimited, Marvel Comics Presents, Night Mask, as well as some kids comics like Mighty Mouse, Bullwinkle and Rocky, Casper, stuff like that.
He's like really.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jolie. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's very versatile. He also worked for Creepy, Eerie, and Vampirella.
Right. He also did some Valiant Comics, Magnus Robot Fighter, Solar, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And so in my opinion, his art kind of resembles almost like Mad Magazine, like Jack Harris, like slightly in that direction of exaggeration, but that's just my opinion. But what were you going to say, Mike Dell?
Well, a couple things, but first I was going to say Night Mask. You mentioned you worked on Night Mask. Was that a New Universe thing, or
yes.
What was it? Okay.
He had the black and blue costume.
So what year is this thing we're doing here today?
This is 1983.
So do you know how old of a fella he was in 83?
83. Let me see. Let me check his Wikipedia page.
Well, he was born in 1931, so that would make him 52 at the time.
Okay, so he's a fully established product here.
Yes, he is.
All right.
From Puerto Rican descent. He ended his career he ended up in New York, in Huntington, New York, where he, passed.
Yeah.
And I'll do a brief bio of Dan Mishkin because I'm such a fan. So besides this, he's most known for Wonder Woman as well as Blue Devil. And he wrote mostly for DC. He did actually exclusively DC. He did Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. He did Aquaman, some Justice League, some Superboy, Warlord, Showcase Presents. He did some Marvel. Sorry, some Marvel Comics Presents, Marvel Fanfare, a few things here and there, but mostly DC. Gary Cohn, I don't think is as well known, but he did most of his work with Dan Mishkin, so who knows, maybe they're pals. And then I also want to briefly talk about Amethyst because she did have this run, which was 12 issues. Then she had a special. Then she had a 16-issue run. Then another special. Then she had a third series, which in the opinion of I don't know if it was the writer or the writers or the artist that said it, but they basically feel like that third run completely effed up the character because this was after Watchmen came out, and I think DC tried too hard to make it, quote, realistic and dark, and they tried to incorporate rape, apparently, which you always have to do if it's a female character, right?
Well, they tried to do that right here in this issue as well.
They sure did.
That surprised me. We'll talk about that later. But I do want to mention that Amethyst disappeared for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. Then she came back with DC's New 52 in 2011 in a series called Sword of Sorcery, which had to be the worst marketing, of their entire company's career. But then shortly afterwards, she was adapted into an animated a series of shorts that kind of looked like more like anime to me than than I think is suited to the character. But that's fine. And then she was also in DC Superhero Girls Hero of the Year, and she made a brief cameo in Teen Titans Go to the movies. So she's still around. And she just had a new number one last year.
Were they making fun of her in that movie?
Not at all.
Like, she didn't just pop up like as a little in-joke or anything? She like actually had a character?
No, she had actual scenes. Well, she had a cameo, right. But she was taken seriously. Just like everyone should take it seriously.
Yeah, she's the most beloved of all of the Gemworlds. She's the princess of the most beloved family
of all the princesses
of the Gemworld. Yeah, of the Gemworld, because we got the Opals, the Amethysts are the most loved family, as we've seen in this comic by most of the other Gem families. So, yeah,
right.
Well, Mike, how come DC hasn't like jumped on the, like the whole app matching gem game? You know, you 3 matches and you get a little turn or whatever. Like, it seems like Amethyst would be like, tailor made for that kind of a game.
It's a
license to print money for DC.
That's a good idea. I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't thought of that. Maybe you should pitch that to them. But make sure you have a lawyer present, or they might steal it.
Yeah, I'll bring Tuffy along.
All right. There you go.
So.
All right, so you know what? So usually we're kind of flipping roles here. Usually Mike Dell does the research, but because I did all the research, maybe we should have Jolie describe the cover for us.
Oh, okay.
Right. I thought I was going to have to since we're flipping roles, but all right, go ahead, Jolie. That seemed like a long setup for no payoff, but all right, go ahead.
Oh, you thought you were going to get payoff. Okay. So I guess so we'll just jump right into this, shall we? So on the cover, it's Amethyst in her full-grown form. And
yes, and I think, Jolie, they established in the book that her full-grown form is 20 years old.
Yeah. But maybe we'll discuss it later, but I can't tell. Is she 13 in her mind? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I read that she's 13. I think she's 13, yeah.
Yeah. So she's seen here, and the eyes of Sardonyx. Maybe this is the Dark Lord.
I think this is Dark Opal.
Yeah, so Dark
Opal? Yeah.
Yeah, so Dark Opal, it's sort of like a wash, sort of watermark picture of him behind her, and she's casting a spell, potentially. She's using her powers anyway.
Yeah, like she has her left hand extended toward the viewer, and there's like yellow around it, so look out. She's doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Again, because I'm doing the work of 2 people here, one part I skipped was talking about the characters' costumes. But since we're talking about the cover and Amethyst is on the cover, Julie, why don't you tell the kids at home what her costume is like?
Well, if you're familiar with She-Ra or Sailor Moon, it's very like sword and sorcery. So she's got high boots. She has not a diadem, but and not feathers. She reminds me of Hera. Like depictions of the goddess Hera, where she has like a huge headpiece.
Right.
She's blonde, she's blue-eyed, she could be German, we don't know. And then she has...
Purple seems to be the main color we're dealing with here as well. The boots
and
everything.
Yeah, and it's more... Her dress is more like function over fashion, but also fashion. So, it's kind of like a crop top purple number, but also with like gold collars, gold cuffs, big gold belt, and slits up the skirt, because you never know when a high kick can come in handy. So
yeah, and you got to show a lot of thigh too for the kids.
Yeah. And she's got like big, powerful, muscular legs, which is nice. So she's ready for ass kicking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this cover, I actually like this cover a lot, Micah. It's a good classic comic book cover, yeah.
And it's simple. I mean, I know you like dialogue, but there's no dialogue. There's no
that was really a thing of the 70s, the dialogue on the covers,
Right.
So.
Yeah, this is a nice cover, nice design. Now, Mike Dell, what's your opinion of this outfit?
It's fine. Looks good.
Okay. Okay.
No complaints.
I think it's fine. Although, I mean, I always the headpiece I always thought was a little bit weird, but now that Julie mentions the Hera similarities, it's like, okay, I guess that makes sense then. Yeah.
Yeah, the headdress is a little weird, but what can you do?
It seems like it would be hard to fight in, and it's kind of extravagant. It's like a little what the kids today would call extra.
Right.
Yeah, well, you could say that about pretty much every superhero costume from the 80s.
That is true.
So, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I want to briefly talk about two other characters before we jump into the story. One is Dark Opal.
Oh, well, Mike, a couple other things about the cover here.
Sure.
Maxi Series 1 of 12.
Ah, yes.
Now, is that a term that was only used? I'm not. Do they always use that in DC? Maxi Series for long?
So
I think. Sorry, Maxi Series refers to 12 issues. Mini series is like 4 to 6.
Yes.
Did Marvel ever use Maxi?
No. Marvel used limited series, and so to differentiate themselves, DC used mini series and maxi series.
Okay.
So if you look at like Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever, I don't know if 12 was the magic number or if it was 8, but yeah, there was definitely mini series and maxi series. So.
And just so you buy several copies right at the top, first issue collector's item.
Oh yeah, I got several.
I'm not surprised.
I have a handful too, none of which I could find to save me from reading this horrible scan, but like all for $0.25.
There you go. Send them to Mike Dell.
Does anybody know the current collector's price for an Amethyst issue 1?
I will look it up as we're talking. But anyway.
All right. Just wondering for you collectors out there.
And one other thing. What was I going to say? Darn it. Mirage Studios, which published Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they made a joke about this mini-series, micro-series thing. So they published a Leonardo one-issue micro-series. That was their gag. Anyway.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah, it's cool. I want to briefly talk about Dark Opal because I was first exposed to him in an issue of DC's Who's Who. And I always thought that his face was a really cool design. Just blue skin with black stripes. Mike Dell, what do you think of that design?
Yeah, he was visually striking. Yeah, when you see him.
Yeah, very cool.
Like he's a good villain for this kind of a story, I would say. Yeah,
and if they did like a TV show or whatever, it'd be a simple design, right? Just get some blue and black makeup in there and you're good to go, right?
Yeah, well, they'd always change it in a TV show and make it look cooler or more hip and modern. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He'd be wearing leather pants and all kind of stuff. Yeah.
And then I was one other character I was going to talk about, and that's like the big beast guy. What's his name? She's kind of
Sardonyx.
He's the other bad guy, right?
Yeah, I think Sardonyx is the guy with like the little like Arab head wear kind of deal.
Yes.
Turban?
He's like the second in command, right?
Wait.
Yeah, not a turban necessarily, but like the things they wear, like it's like the cloth behind on the neck.
Sheik. Yeah, I know what you mean, like the way a sheik would wear. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
And then there's also Amethyst, kind of like big tough bodyguard guy, like the orange guy. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking for what his name is. Granch.
Granch, there you go. He's cool. He kind of reminds me of like a He-Man toy, like Beast Man or something like that,
Yeah, this is all very much like someone saw He-Man and She-Ra and they're like, all right, let's cash in on something. Let's try and do something here. Yeah.
I like to know which came first, but yeah, it could be true.
Well, what year was this?
May 83. So He-Man, we'd have to Google that. He-Man. I'll just go He-Man.
This is the part of the show where we Google things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Everyone's listening, so... 1982, so you're right. This was a year before. Okay.
Well, do you know what's really funny, too, is that, and I don't know how much truth is in this, but the idea for this, we say that it is potentially inspired by other things, and who knows, but apparently they were trying to create a comic about Beast Boy. Who they had been referring to as Changeling. Yeah, it's in an interview with Dan Mishkin. So he talks about idea, like kind of spitballing and brainstorming a new book for DC. And let's see, I don't remember anything before the time we named the character. We're tentatively referring to the character as Changeling, with a classical fairy tale notion of a goblin child put in place of a human child in the crib, as opposed to a shapeshifter. I think even on the first page of the first issue, quote, Amethyst, we end up being pretty bald-faced about it, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes on from there. So he calls his editor, and they're saying things back and forth. He literally says, I was leaning on my chest freezer and the word amethyst came into my head. The next thing I thought was Gemworld. And then he called Gary Cohn.
Cohn, yeah, Cohn.
And then they sat and mapped out the entire world, what the different houses were, what the birthstones meant, what each gemstone meant, and like each gem, how good or how evil, and what emotional states came out of those. So I think they kind of, if anything, like, did the Green Lantern exist at this time? Like the different stones?
Oh yeah.
No, not like the yellow lanterns and all that stuff. No. Definitely.
Okay.
Oh.
What about the Infinity Stones? Did that exist?
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just like based on what they knew inside their house and what their readers are familiar with the most. This is a character that is sort of like a changeling who they like the idea of a child who was stolen away, but they weren't sure how to marry that with, like, it seems as though they weren't sure how to marry that with something that everyone was always familiar with, and then give it like a sword and sorcery sort of bent. So who knows, right? Who knows what they're not saying? Who knows what they're not saying they stole? Mike Dell could be right.
Well, I don't think they're stealing, but I think they're
borrowing.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, let's be clear. He-Man. Have you guys ever seen the cartoon Black Star?
Oh no, I've seen little clips, but I've never seen like a full.
Okay, it is 95% He-Man. He-Man copied it. It's a hero, like a half-naked barbarian guy that's fighting an evil guy. They have a sword that splits in half. Like each toy comes with one half of the sword. It's almost exactly the same concept, but just tweaked a little bit for He-Man. So I mean, these ideas were in the air, so it's all good, right?
Mm-hmm. And hey, I looked up the for you collectors out there, you can get a very good copy of Amethyst issue 1 for $2.40.
Woo!
So look, it is more than doubled in value. And apparently there is a test issue released with
preview.
a 35-cent cover price. It was just released in St. Louis, Missouri, and Austin, Texas. And if you have that one, that's worth $400. So,
sorry, what was the cover price on that?
35 cents instead of 60, which this one is.
That's really weird. Why would it be so drastically different?
Because it was just a test. They wanted to see if people would, I guess, buy for 35 cents. I don't know.
Huh.
But so a comic book graded at 9.6 of that issue is worth $400. So
that's called a good investment, Mike Dell.
Yeah.
Double your money.
Yeah, this Amethyst is no joke. Yeah.
Sorry, back. Let's get back from our tangent. Where did we leave off? Orange guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Grant.
Well,
Grant.
This orange guy, when we open up, he's the bad guy, though. He's not the good guy, monster. I don't know who this guy is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's two other ladies that seem to make their home in the house of Amethyst, and that's Fauna and Laurel. But they don't really appear again, so we don't have to talk about them. But we also get this other character who seems to be like a house mother or an auntie, or they call her a witch, and her name is Citrina.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as I'm reading that part of the story, I'm seeing echoes of Star Wars, right, with Obi-Wan Kenobi and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that later. But yeah, let's go back to the beginning of the story, and we're gonna go through this. And G.I. Jolie, if I miss anything, feel free to jump in.
You bet.
Now here's the thing. the way this story starts off is very weird because, we've talked about splash pages before. This opening page is a splash page, but it's a strange one because it's one of those pages where it kind of has like multiple images going on at the same time. So we see like the title Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. We see the title of the story, The Birthright, and then we see this image of the girl Amy sleeping in her bed, and then sort of becoming Amethyst and leaping through this hexagon. Is that a hexagon? Yeah, this hexagonal like tunnel, and then falling into like Gemworld, and then we see all these like demons and creatures around her. But the thing is like the narration's like, you have shared the child's dream, the dream of a lost legacy, that your parents are not really your parents. So implying that this girl's having this dream about this world. And then we see the narration describing how this little creature is coming into Amy's world and then leaving a little box among other presents for her birthday, right?
Well, I think creature. I'm sorry, Julie. This little creature looks like a two-legged dragon walking on two legs.
Right. It's like 2 feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Amy's birthday tomorrow. Amy Winston. It's her 13th birthday, in fact.
Right.
And I don't think he's leaving it. I think he's switching out a gift.
Right. Yes, because he brings something with him, but then he takes something too. You're right.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, the creature gets caught by the family dog, right?
Taffy.
So the dog chases the little creature up the stairs. And Mike Dell, this one's for you. What is the sound the creature makes as he's running up the stairs?
I was busy looking at these things. Vip, 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 or yip,
well,
yip, yip.
No, his actual dialogue. That's the dog. What about the creature? Look at the creature's dialogue.
Oh, I don't even see it. Go ahead.
Wooga, wooga.
Oh, wooga,
you don't
wooga,
see that?
I noticed, what? I made a note of that when I read it the first time, but then I didn't see it there. Yeah, wooga,
you
wooga.
Blocked it out? Yeah, see, Julie...
The little dragon's running up the steps, and the dog's chasing him, going yip, 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 and he verbally says out loud, wooga, wooga.
Anyway. So the creature...
Mike, the reason I was distracted is because I was still thinking about the splash page. Because remember, this is like a DC thing they used to do, right? They would put like a splash page that summarized the story or kind of put you in a key moment of the story. Where Marvel, the splash page would always be like the opening sequence of the opening scene of the story. So it's just a different way the companies did things, I guess, back then. But,
right.
But it's kind of weird here because it's pretty much revealing everything about the whole story. Like, there's no surprise then when you're reading, like, what's happening with this girl? We already know what's happening because you showed us on the splash page.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to do it.
Anyway. All right, so the dog's chasing the little wooga wooga guy up the steps.
So again, we got to point out this artwork is really funky because, so the creature gets chased away, and then in the next page, now it's morning and Amy's woken up, and she's opening up her presents, and then the panel after that is actually above the bottom two panels. It forms a circle, and when she opens up the gift, and it's this gem inside, which is an amethyst, and it's creating like the shape of the glow of the amethyst creates the panels in the upper part of the page, which is kind of cool, I think.
Yeah, it's a cool page design and layout when you're looking at it all at once. But if you're reading it in a scan like we were kind of doing, it was very confusing a little bit, like in how to read it.
And this also kind of, like the way that like for example, if you were to read a comic on Comixology, you can go into what's that mode called? I don't know, reader helper, reader friendly.
Yeah, it like shows you one panel at a time.
Right. It would be almost impossible to do it this way.
Yeah, because like they show her like lifting up she opens her present and it's a purple gem, an amethyst, if you will, and she like her opening and holding the gem up, like you said, the reflections are what's dividing the page panels, but her head's overlapping the panels above her.
Right.
So when you're reading those panels left to right, it's almost like, wait, should I go back and read what she says in that and then go down? And it kind of like disrupts things, but I don't know.
You could argue that, yeah. It's a little bit distracting. Yeah. Your head... Go ahead, Julie.
Well, it took a large part of my brain to be like, no, read it left to right, instead of trying to figure out if they're experimenting with the reading order.
Right.
So as long as you follow, traditional, like the way you traditionally read comics in North America, it works. And I sort of agree with Mike Dell that it is a little bit confusing. Like the experimentation at this point, if it was any more than this, it would have been a terrible page. But because they give you just enough, or they don't go overboard with it, they're kind of restrain themselves, it works. And it's kind of neat.
Yeah. Like
I've never seen it before.
You could argue that her head shouldn't be in the panels above it, but I do like the fact that the light coming out of the amethyst is what creates the panels, because it kind of makes the page, I don't know, it creates this like circular design where like, you know, the design of the page is created by the bottom of it. I think that's cool. But anyway,
I guess the only issue I have is like I said, with her head being, because your eye goes to her and the jewel, so
right.
you want to instantly read that first, and like, oh wait, I got to go back and read the rest, and I don't know, it's kind of disruptive. I don't know, but
understood.
Whatever.
Yep. So then we cut to the next page, and now it's a little bit later, and you know, she's kind of like enjoying, you know, the gifts she's got, and she's enjoying her birthday. But then all of a sudden, she opens up, I guess this is her closet, and this blinding light comes exploding out of the closet, and sure enough, it's this giant monster thing. This orange guy with like, well, he's basically got like underwear, well, not underwear, but he's basically like a barbarian monster type character, right? And he's holding
definitely
kind
a
of
He-Man type character.
Yeah,
like,
exactly, like Beastman or something.
Yeah, because he's got that, like, just that little thing he's wearing on his chest, that like X vest kind of thing, you know,
right?
Like it's straps.
Oh, like a harness.
Yes, it's very much like what they would wear in He-Man's universe.
And this is also another cool thing I like, is how he's coming out of kind of like, there's like smoke or steam or whatever, but I like how there's the typical black outline of the steam or whatever, but there's also a purple line underneath it that's like creating more of a texture, so I think that's really cool. I don't know exactly how that was done, but it just looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
He's also carrying a snake in his right hand.
Right.
Interesting.
As he's wielding a snake.
As a weapon. Yeah.
And notice she has those little smiley face slippers on. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
One of them falls off. And basically the guy's like, Amethyst, be silent, little princess, or I will kill you here and now. So now we're all scared. And she's like, what? And then he picks her up. He's like, silent to say, and cease your struggling. It will not help you when you arrive at Fortress Opal, or Opal. So he brings her through, and then as she goes through this portal, she suddenly changes into a fully grown woman. And she's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Where have you taken me? And then he points to this kind of like whatever pillar thing, and it has an amethyst on it. And then we cut to the next page, and it's that classic Bubble Yum.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you talk about the Bubble Yum ad.
Let's take a little sidestep. I used to love this thing when I was a kid.
What, the
Behind
gum or
the candy counter? Yeah.
Yeah.
the gum or the advertisement?
The advertisement, the gum too, but the advertisement was just awesome.
Yeah, like, am I the only one looking at the third row, the first panel? Like, I can taste that gum.
Exactly.
In my mouth right now. Like,
yeah.
Bubble Yum, I don't care what anyone says.
great.
Bubble Yum is better than Bubblicious. It was so flavorful. The flavor lasted longer. It stayed softer longer, too. Anyway.
Controversial hot take from Jolie.
Yep.
There you go.
The hottest take.
Yep. So now Beastman or whatever has.
Oh my God! Then we get another ad for Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay. We're gonna talk about this one too. The adventure is yours.
And do you know what? I would honestly, like, false advertising. There are women playing.
What are you trying to imply?
At this point, there would not have been.
Yeah.
You're telling me that Dungeon Masters didn't have ladies playing with them? Come on.
No. I'm 100% kidding. They probably did. And I love how the one woman is, like, very clearly over 40. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of weird. You're right.
so it's like, well,
I think it's a
you know
family
what?
event. I think it's a family event. You know, like mom and dad and the kids, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Oh my God! Now we can get back to the story.
back to the story.
I was going to say, but most importantly, was she the rogue or was she the mage? But anyway, back to the story.
So this monster guy has brought Amethyst to Fortress Opal. And then what's this bad guy's name again?
Which one? The orange
Gaunt
guy, or-
Man. Currently,
Gaunt.
they're just calling him the Gaunt Man.
The Gaunt Man.
And I
he's
gotta
like,
tell you, he's not very gaunt. He doesn't look gaunt.
true,
No.
you're right.
Yeah,
He's
he
not
looks like
very
an
gaunt.
average dude. Yeah.
But he's like, Belaz, you've brought her. Our master will be pleased. And and then basically she's trying to figure. She has no idea what's going on. She's like, who are you? What do you want from me? He's like, alas, you are destined to die before knowing the answers to such questions. So basically, they're gonna lock her up in this dungeon, right? So then this Balaz guy, and this other guy, they bring her down to this dungeon. And this is where things get kind of dark. Yeah, I mean, again, up until this point, it's like, well, this is clearly for little girls, but it's one thing to have a scene in like a kid's story where somebody tries to kind of like kiss a girl or kind of like grab them. No, he starts to take off his clothes.
And another guy is holding her arms behind her back while he's undressing in front of her.
Yeah, because wouldn't you know, they're granting her a few more precious moments of life and amusement.
Yeah, and they give her some sound advice here. Be nice, Amethyst. This will be far easier if you cooperate. So
it always is.
Ooh. Yeah, this is like all of a sudden an Alan Moore comic. But anyway, so basically she's like, get your filthy paws off me, you animal, which is a reference to Planet of the Apes. But anyway, so she shoots basically, it looks like energy or fire out of her amethyst around her neck.
But here's my question right away here. So when she comes through the portal, all right, I guess she does have the amethyst, all right?
Yeah, she does.
Because then they show it hanging on a wall, on the pillar.
Yeah.
I think that's just maybe a mistake of the art.
No, it's...
Oh, you know what? It's hanging down beneath from the other panel.
It is.
Oh, that's why. Yes, okay.
Yeah. Because they put a narrative box over top of it, so it looks like it's the edge of the panel, but actually it's from up above hanging down in. See, that confuses the storytelling.
Yeah, that's confusing. That's totally confusing. Because I thought that was hanging on the pillar. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That bit was kind of lazy. Unless it's meant to be metaphorically like something else, which I don't think it is. It's just bad.
Yeah, like the narrative box, that really screwed it up because it makes it look like another. Yeah, but anyway. No. All right,
so basically, okay, so yeah, I think I had the characters mixed up. So I kind of forgot. I thought that was her bodyguard, but that wasn't. Her rapist is not her bodyguard.
No. Yeah.
So this is her bodyguard. He comes in and basically he stabs the orange guy, right?
Yeah.
And kills him. Yeah, there's blood. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So
he chokes him until he bleeds.
Okay,
because that thing clattered. This was really even darker than the rape scene. Well, they're both equally pretty dark, but like it clatters, the axe clatters to the ground. You see his feet lifted by her bodyguard and then just blood trickling onto the axe lying on the ground. And it's like, oh. So, I mean, it's telling you that this guy is really strong and he's not to be messed with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's like, this is supposed to be for young children? Okay. Yikes.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like Return of the Jedi has the big chokeout scene with Jabba the Hutt. I don't know. I think it's okay, but it is a little unexpected.
But there's blood dripping onto an axe. It's a little different than the choking scene from Star Wars.
I gotta say that the close-up shots of him dying with his eyes bulging out of his head are really well drawn.
But yeah, so then this new bodyguard, he like bows down to her to show that, his servitude to her. But then look in the background there where the orange guy, like he's wearing tighty whiteies.
The biggest diaper in all of Gemworld.
Right.
And he's wearing
like
it.
He's dead. He's dead on the ground in his tighty whiteies.
So then he's like, you must come with me. So then he convinces her to trust him, and then she climbs into his back, and he like climbs up this like mountain, and then like leaping over this like swamp thing, not like the character swamp thing, but like a swamp. And then they make their way to Obi-Wan, not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but this woman who's kind of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi type.
Citrina.
Right. And she's like, how beautiful you are, how like your mother, and the power I sense within you, much more than I expected. She's like, I know you from somewhere. Of course you do, dear. But
that's her grandma, right? Is that what we're supposed to understand?
Well, yeah. Basically, what you find out is, so her. Well, I don't know if we should get to that yet, but yeah, I think it's her grandmother, right? Because her real parents were killed, right, at some point.
Yeah, I don't think they get into that much here, do they? But maybe in future issues they talk about it. Or...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, and as they're chatting it up, these creatures come out of the swamp to attack them, and then of course, because it's a kids comic, the bodyguard cracks the creature's jaw in half, and we see the sound effect crack, and then we see him holding the top jaw while the dead body of the animal is laying there with the bottom jaw just dangling loose below him. So, yeah interesting stuff.
Wow.
So now look at the panel. Like we'll talk about. I guess we'll talk about the art later. But after in the row of panels beneath where he cracks the guy's jaw, the first panel there, you see a close up of the older lady, and then Amethyst in the background. She looks about 60 there. I don't know, just,
yeah, you're right.
I think the art, like it has its moments, but it's also very inconsistent. That's why when I asked about how old he was when he did this, I'm kind of like, if this is a young artist, you're like, oh, all right, he's figuring it out. But it seems like he just was rushing or just didn't care about some panels. You know?
Maybe he's a deadline artist.
You know what it is? I think this issue is like, 30-some pages. Mm-hmm. So maybe.
Yeah, 36. Yeah, it could have been,
That's all basically a double issue pretty much in this era.
Well, yeah, issue and a half for sure.
So maybe he was just scrambling to meet the deadline and just said, all right, I'm cutting corners.
Could be, but you know what? I don't know. I mean, to me, like, I know this guy is Puerto Rican, but this kind of reminds me of, like, some of the French comics I've read, like Valerian or whatever it's called, where...
Valerian.
Valerian. There you go. Valerian. Valerian. Where it's like the art is really creative, but then sometimes you get panels like that where it's almost like sometimes these types of artists don't care as much about everything looking pretty. You know, they're just kind of telling the story. So maybe that's it. I don't know.
But it's kind of like frustrating because you see he does some panels that look really nice. Like she looks really good and anatomy's solid. And then there'll be others where it's just like, you know, a 12-year-old kind of just scribbled it out there. I'm like, oh, look at that.
Well, yeah, maybe he did. Maybe he was rushing a little bit. But it doesn't look, I don't think it looks that bad. But yeah, she does look older there for sure.
But I mean, even if you go to the previous page, like look at the anatomy on her arm and everything, and her head, it's screwy. But then you have another panel right next to it where it's like, oh, look how good she looks there. So I don't know,
right.
Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like on the previous page, that middle panel when Amethyst is looking up at the old woman, that's a great shot.
What? Look at her arm.
Well, except for the fact that her arm doesn't fit on her body. Look at her face.
And look at her head though. Like the top of her skull's missing, and it's just.
Oh no. No, I think that shot's great. I think the arm doesn't look like it fits on her body, but everything else is great.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the arm and the skull and the width of her neck compared to her body. Everything else is great. But other than that,
I think it's fine.
It's the only part of her that didn't change when she walked through the hexagon into Gemworld.
It's like Deadpool, the arm of a 13-year-old and the body of a 20-year-old.
There's so many levels of creepy in this book.
There's some weird stuff going on for sure. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so then they I guess they use their magic to kind of create this like force field around themselves, the old woman and the girl, and it just shoots them up into the air, and they take off because one of the bad guys, Sardonyx, is on his way with all his his buddies, and so the old woman has taken Amethyst to a castle. Castle Amethyst, right. And so now Amethyst is going to find out her origin, right? Kind of. So basically, she's brought in, and she's like looking around, and she's like, and from her heart of hearts, a voice calls out, telling her with utmost confidence that she has come home. So she's trying to figure out what's going on, because she doesn't remember being here, but she kind of does, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're like, go ahead, Julie.
No, it's good. It's funny because I withdrew breath because I just noticed the woodland creatures on the floor, waiting for their princess to come home.
Awesome.
It's very Disney moment.
Totally.
And then on the very next page of the first panel, she's naked. So look at that.
Yes, she is completely naked. You're right, and thankfully her hair is long enough to cover up her nipples.
Yes, like her clothes just vanish.
Right.
And they're giving her a bath. Her what are they? Her servants or whatever? They're just bathing her.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They must be ladies in waiting. That's why they're so inconsequential. Yeah.
Right.
So that's where we get Fauna and Laurel.
Right.
Yeah, those ladies.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's got her. I guess this is this is her second outfit, right? Yeah, completely different.
This is her court attire, inspired by Jean-Paul Gaultier. I like it. It's very fashion.
Right. It's nice. And then so now the old woman is kind of sitting on this throne. She's like, "My child, you are radiant. My happiness at your homecoming knows no bounds. Thank you, Citrina, but I've already got a home, and my parents must be worried about me. I see your concern, but rest assured that your Earth parents will. What, my Earth parents? You must realize that you are no longer on Earth, my dear, but on the world of your birth. And then we find out her secret origin, right, Mike Dell? As DC likes to call it.
Well, that's right. She's not her grandma. She's just a lady who when her parents died, they gave her the baby, right? That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it turns out there was this war, right? Like, basically everything was good, everything was fine, and then Dark Opal started this war against Lady and Lord Amethyst, right?
Yeah, and I love how they introduced. They go into the flashback, and the first line is, "For Lady and Lord Amethyst were almost universally loved."
Yeah.
What do you? I was like, wait, what do you mean almost?
Well, I guess Black Opal and his crew hated him.
Oh yeah.
But I think the art on these couple pages is strong. It's really strong.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
has
it's
a distinctive style and line work. It's really nice. But
Yeah, so we find out that, sorry, I'm going to just cut in. We
Go ahead.
find out that Dark Opal has been, because it literally says it, has been plotting treacherously. We may never know, but when he struck, his armies were everywhere at once, sweeping aside everyone who resisted. So his henchmen are Sardonyx and this other really, like, terrifying looking man. Oh wait, that's him.
That's him, yeah.
That's the Dark Lord.
But I know what you're saying, because in that bottom panel, it's drawn so cool. He looks so evil, like red eyes, red mouth. And he looks a little like more detailed than in the other panels, but he looks so cool there in that bottom panel.
Right.
Yeah, he's giving me, like, the way that he's rendered, he's giving me Jigsaw vibes. Like from Saw.
I could see that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently it doesn't show it, despite showing every other violent thing that could have happened. But her Lord and Lady Amethyst die in the battle.
Right.
And they, but before that happens, they entrust Citrina with the preservation of her infant daughter. So she takes an amethyst, probably from the parents, and her swaddled baby, and she creates a rift in time and space and takes that child to another world, ensuring her safety.
Right.
And then when she returns, they spread the word that she has died.
So,
but Opal, she suspects, or she just assumes that Opal, you know, if he can't be trusted, he obviously doesn't trust other people, that he never believes the lies. So
right, very Star Wars, Star Wars. So yeah.
And
Go ahead.
Look at the art on this page where they're having that big conversation. Again, it's very distinctive style, looking good.
Right.
And then if you go to the next page, it falls off a cliff. Kind of.
Well, it's funny.
Look at her in that circle, the second circle particularly.
Yeah, and then also the third circle. Look at Amethyst there. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that third one's the one I guess I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, that's bad.
Yes, there's a lot of that in this, but
it seems like experimental.
And even the guy, you know, directly to the right of that circle, like that guy coming in with the sword, that's terrible. You know, I mean,
It's not great. It's not great.
No.
So then, just as she's finished learning her secret origin, they're getting attacked now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's kind of funny because then on the next page we actually see an advertisement for Amethyst, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, and then we get meanwhile. We'll skip over that. So
by the way, that old lady in that circle that we hate with the art, she screams, "Damn them, damn Dark Opal!" I had hoped you would hesitate to assault us.
It's funny because that wouldn't even make it to like Saturday morning. They would have censored that damn. It would have been like blast or whatever, blazes or something. I don't know.
Oh, we should mention that the old lady was about to send Amethyst home again. She was going to send her back to Earth.
Yeah, because
right.
Amethyst was literally like, "Well, I don't want to be your princess. I don't want to be Princess Amethyst." And she's like, "Okay, that's fine. Just calm yourself, and I'll send you home."
Right.
And then the attack happens. She's like, "No, you're not going home. You're staying here." Well, like, you knew they were going to attack, so why would you agree to send her home in the first place? You know, it seems weird.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, and then she's like, "I'm the reason why you're the reason why I'm here in the first place. Like, this is because the old lady's like, it's your powers that have to help us. And she's like, this is not my fault. Because she's literally, she's like gaslighting her. She's like, the only way we can be saved is with your powers. And the only reason why they're attacking is because of you. And she's like, this is not my fault. You brought me back.
I also got to point out,
fault.
Yeah,
that's his fault.
The classic Joseph Campbell, the call to action, and then she refuses the call, right? Well, I don't want to be your Princess Amethyst. I want to be Amy Winston, and I want to go home now, right? Again, just like happened in Star Wars, like, please, my child, calm yourself. I will send you home. So, okay, fine. You don't want to do it? Oh, we get attacked. So maybe you'll change your mind soon. We'll see what happens, right? So then we see the bad guys attacking the castle. This is kind of a weird page. What do you think of this page, Mike Dell? We see bad guys shooting arrows and climbing up on these pillars here. We see this big weird, like almost Joker-faced guy, laughing.
Yeah, I don't mind this at all. It's like creative and an interesting page design, and the art's pretty solid here. Yeah.
So basically, so then the old woman's like, watch me, Amethyst, and learn. For if I fall, you must lead this battle. The defensive dome begins as a dense, small construct. So she's showing her how to use magic, right? And meanwhile, the bad guys are attacking. They're shooting things at them. And then the henchmen are like, for the Dark Lord, for the Opal. And then, who is it that gets injured here?
The old lady.
Oh, is it the old lady? Yeah. So Citrina gets shot with this, like, magic. And then, like Amethyst is holding her. She's like, Citrina. And then all of a sudden, we cut back to Amy's parents back in the real world, right? Amy, honey, are you okay? So they hear a sound, and the dog seems to know what's going on, but the dog ain't talking. Right?
Taffy's sneaky like that. I also want to point out that her dad's name is Herb. Just so
that's right. Herb and Marion, right?
Such a dad in 1984 name.
Herb. Yeah.
So then the old woman's like, back into the Gemworld, you must save us, daughter. Me, how? Do not ask. Do not think, just do. So then she grabs her wrist and forces her to shoot this dragon thing. And then...
and see, I love the panel right next to the dragon. The dragon getting shot's fine, like a shadowy dragon. But I really like the design of that panel in the middle. It almost reminds me a little Mike Mignola.
You can say that, yep. Yeah. All the like henchmen behind him and like the bad guy like kind of leading the march. That's pretty cool.
And the lines, yeah.
Yeah, secure the perimeter, take no prisoners, save for the Princess Amethyst. They're coming over the walls. So she's like, uh-oh. Now she's being forced, right? Now she's got to help the cause, right? So I guess she uses her magic and she just, she repels everybody away with purple energy.
I mean, she's being coached.
Interesting page design, though.
Yeah. Right, yeah, because it's like she's in the middle, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels around her, and they're kind of circular. Well, they are circular.
But she's in the middle looking, like you're seeing her from up above, and she's raising her hand towards you, the viewer, and she's looking up at you. So it's very striking.
Right. Yeah. And so basically the narration's like it comes in one awesome, overwhelming wave. And as Amethyst hurls the mystic purple energy outward, she experiences an ecstasy of wild abandon such as she has never imagined. An oceanic epiphany of power and rage that devastates these invaders from the House of Opal. So the bad guys have been sent with running with their tails between their legs, right? And then the next page, we see an advertisement for Karate Kung Fu.
Yes.
Ninja uniforms and supplies.
Color catalog. Every 1,000 items fully illustrated. Send $1.
You can either get your uniform and supplies or your poster of Bruce Lee.
That is awesome.
And Michael, if you're on the fence about whether you should send $1, it's refundable with your first order.
Oh, I'll put that. I can use that $1 to invest in another copy of Amethyst #1.
Or if you find a good long box, if they ever have conventions or fleas again, you could find 4 for $0.25.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
we know you like to peruse long boxes.
Yes.
So.
Here's the thing: the Lord of Serpents will not accept defeat.
Why would he? You know,
Right?
he's the Lord of Serpents.
Right.
Yeah.
You haven't won yet, Citrina. If I cannot capture Amethyst, I can kill her. Never, Sardonyx. Tell your master to come for us next time himself. Or perhaps we shall come for him. And then she kind of like, I don't know what this is. She's doing like a hand motion here.
She swats away his magical bolt.
Oh, right, right. It's funny, though, because it's almost like slow motion. It's kind of cool. So, yeah, she sends him running. And then Amethyst is like crying. And then the old woman's like, what's the matter? Oh, yeah, Citrina. She's like, what's the matter, child? She's like, please, Citrina, I've got to go home now. I just want to go home. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, she kind of, and this is where you find out that time passes slower on Earth than it does in Gemworld. So for it's very exact, I think. And I think for every like hour, it's only like 20 minutes on Earth. So she hasn't been gone for long, but she feels like she's been gone forever.
Right. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, she sends her back, and it's not been but 5 minutes.
Right, but her parents definitely know she was missing, and so the dad's on the phone, and he's like, we've looked everywhere, Marion. I'm calling the police. Herb, Mom, Mommy, it's Amy. She's back. And then the father's like, back?
Yeah.
Oh, baby, where were you? We were so worried. I'm not sure. I think I was having a dream or a nightmare or something. So, hey, who knows? Maybe this whole issue was a dream. We don't know. And so back in the Gemworld, we see the bad guys plotting and scheming for the next thing. And then Dark Opal is disappointed with Sardonyx. But he's like, okay, you know what? You did F up, but I'm not going to kill you. Just stay out of my sight.
Dig the panel design. Those middle rows there of Black Opal. I think that's great stuff. Like he has a big shot of his face kind of in the center of the page.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. And even on the page before, it's like, again, there's 4 panels, but they're not panels. It's just like she's flying, and then the dad's on the phone, and it's not really divided up in a traditional way. It's kind of cool. But anyway, so we skip ahead. So then now Amy's in bed, and again, the dog knows what happened, but the dog ain't talking. And so then
Taffy.
But she is talking to Taffy.
Right. So then the dad's like, she really was gone for a few minutes, but gone where? And so then Amy's like, it wasn't a dream, Taffy. It was real. I know it was. At least I think it was. If I could just go back and make sure it was true. And then unwittingly, Amy draws on secret powers. Oh, it does work. I'm going back. I have to just to see. I'll come right home, honest. And then she turns into Amethyst. And she's like, it is real. It all did happen. I knew it. And then she's all good to go. But then now, look, someone else is watching her.
And he's got a knife.
Yeah. So this is the Princess Amethyst. The reports of her beauty do not do her justice. I pity that beauty fades so quickly and so easily, and is so easily scarred.
Oh, bro.
To be continued. That's right. They're teasing another rape for issue 2.
There you go. Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, #1.
Good Lord.
I honestly, it was off to such a great start, and then she was ushered back to Earth only because she whined the whole time about wanting to go home, and then she got back to Taffy. She was like, Taffy, maybe I'll just go back to see if it was real. Like, really?
Yeah.
That was
the part where the ending really just fell off for me.
Yes.
It was terrible.
Yes, like, here's the thing is, I love the concept. I love everything about it. But, there's a good way and a bad way to introduce fantasy into, like, this kind of story, and they didn't do it right. First of all, it did start out awkward, too. Like, if you think about this as like a movie like The Last Starfighter or like an 80s movie, you have to introduce, okay, here's the girl, here's her normal world, and then she goes on an adventure, she comes back. But what it should have been is she should have thought it was a dream for at least like half an issue, right? Like maybe in the next issue she's trying to get back, but she can't. But no, she just rubs her gem, and then she's back there again. Like,
not a euphemism.
Not
an
a
actual
euphemism.
necklace.
Not a euphemism.
She's rubbing the actual necklace. But yeah, like she's on Earth for like 2 panels, and then I want to go back and see what's going on. Maybe that was real.
Really,
it just did not work. Did not work at all.
Yeah, it would have been a lot better. Again, like I said, it's like it would have been so cool to have like at least half an issue where she was struggling to get back and she couldn't, or something happened or whatever. I don't know. That would have been cool, but no, they kind of blew it with this ending.
Mm-hmm. They did.
So there you go, Mike Dell.
Yes.
What do you think?
Again, if you're an 8-year-old girl, this is great. You'll love it. But otherwise, not so much. The story's really, the concept is good for little kids and all, but I don't know if it's executed for little kids, like the rapey stuff and all that. I don't know. The story's pretty rudimentary in terms of the dialogue and stuff. So it's clearly aimed at kids, but then you get some stuff that's not aimed at kids. So I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the story. The art, I loved some of the art.
Right.
Like there were panels in here that are just tremendous. And he does some excellent creative things with page design. Some work better than others, but it's innovative, it's creative. But then there's also panels that are just unforgivable. Like how bad they're drawn.
Right.
So I'm guessing it was just a matter of him being rushed to meet the deadline because of the size of the issue. Mm-hmm. I would like to look at more of his art, because I think you can see there's some really good stuff here. So
yeah, it's a really good jumping off point. And I tend to agree with Mike, is that if they were going to create a comic, pick a demo and write and draw for that demo. If you're going to incorporate themes that are sort of like that you wouldn't share with somebody under 13, then I don't know, don't make it purple and sparkly.
Right.
And don't appeal to 6 to 10 year olds, because I could see a 6 to 10 year old picking this up to read it and probably being really entertained, but then that 6 to 10 year old parents seeing the murder, the kidnapping, the kind of weird shit that happens, and just being absolutely maybe a little bit upset that they didn't catch that, because when you look at the cover, you don't think that is going to be the kind of thing. It's going to be like She-Ra, where she has adventures with her brother, and they have to always fight the bad guy, but the bad guy's not trying to rape them. He's just trying to take over whatever fictional world they live in.
Right. Destroy Eternia or whatever. You're right.
Yeah. She's always going to be saving Eternia. And, and I feel like we're not far off, because I've read the second issue. We're not far off from the tease of rape, because wouldn't you know, that gentleman continues to be kind of like a lech. He talks about how beautiful she is. He is actually Carnelian, the son of Dark Opal, and I think he wants to. He's sent to destroy Princess Amethyst, but he's so just taken by her beauty that he almost can't. But I would not put it past him to try to rape her first.
Jeez. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm looking at that page of Black Opal again. That really is a nice character design, and I really like that. But
oh yeah,
very great
cool
character. Again, that's I first saw him in Who's Who, and I'm like, what a cool design. I gotta find out what this guy's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a shame they had to waste it in Amethyst. Princess of Gemworld.
Stop. Well, good news, Mike Dell, is there's 12 more issues of this, then there's another 12, then there's another 16. So
and the best news is I won't read any of them.
Oh, come on. She gets a winged unicorn named Max. You don't want to read that? Then you find out what the other 12 kingdoms, or the other 11 kingdoms are.
Yeah, there you go.
I would like an issue of just Taffy chasing that dragon going wooga wooga. I just want an issue of that.
Yeah, just a side quest sort of spin-off, a mini series or micro series, if you will, of Taffy and the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Like I said, this is maybe the second or third time I've read this, and I have always been a little disappointed by the execution, but I do like the idea. And so if the idea is an 8 and the execution is a 6, the average
oh my goodness.
is a 7. So I'll give this
Execution's
comic
a 6.
a 7, okay? Because, yeah, I agree. The art is really creative, but it is also inconsistent and sloppy at points. But at least it looks like classic comic book art. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So, G.I. Jolie, what do you rate this out of 10?
Out of 10, I would give this like a 6.8.
How many attempted rapes out of 10?
Well, we can confirm 1. Two. There are 2 baddies. I would give this like a 6.8.
Oh my goodness.
Like the attempt, I would give less, maybe like a 5. I didn't have I'm not a professional dialogue writer or anything, but it wasn't as confusing as some other stuff that I've recently read, Chris Claremont.
Right.
So, I'll give it a 6.8 because I know that it gets better.
Wow.
and I really love the idea of this book.
Right.
It's ideas that I love already, but like it's different enough that I can, keep Princess Amethyst in my sort of my pocket of favorite princesses. There
you go. And there's still the cartoon. There's the new run that just started last year. Oh, there's plenty more Amethyst to come.
Listen.
And we're going to be reviewing all of it. But go ahead, Mike.
This clearly isn't geared toward me.
No.
And
it 100% is not.
The concept is fine. Again, if you're a little kid, I can see why a little girl would enjoy this to an extent. But the execution's tricky. I didn't like the writing. The art was awesome at times and terrible at others. So I cannot go better than a 3.
Ooh.
And that's believe me, that's generous though, because I really wanted to just tear this to shreds. But thanks to Jolie. Jolie, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
With all the research and your perspective, it added a lot. Because if it's just me and Mike L talking about this, there's a lot of awkward silences. Like I would just
that are now full and voluminous, with me gushing about how purple and beautiful the whole world could be. Yeah.
Yes.
But let's not forget, this was my pick. But anyway.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so
your pick.
Yes, and I'm proud of it. Now is the time of the show where we find out what we're reviewing next week, Mike Dells.
Well, we're going to go with a similar kind of theme.
Oh, cool.
Because I loved Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld so much. Next week, we're going to go, I believe, 1987, and we're going to do The Punisher, issue 3, volume 2.
That is so similar. I don't even know why you would pick that.
Yeah, it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they both wear purple.
I'm talking about the regular series Punisher, not the miniseries. That was 86. Okay. So this is issue 3 of the regular series.
Gotcha.
And I think the writer is Rich Barron. Does that sound right? And the artist
Barron.
is Klaus Janson. And again, a lot of the similar stuff happens. Like, I think there's a scene where Punisher kills someone with a blow dart and then sets a dude on fire. So it's a lot of the same stuff that we just read with Amethyst.
He's also got a dog named Taffy. Right?
Weird.
Funny
Wooga
enough.
wooga.
Yeah.
That should be the Punisher's catchphrase every time he kills somebody. Wooga wooga. And then he just walks off.
All right, so yeah, more fun every week from Flea Market Fantasy. We pick a different issue from the Bronze Age. That's the 70s or the 80s. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. You can find Flea Market Fantasy on Stitcher, iTunes, or Spotify under Comic Book Syndicate. You can also follow us on Twitter, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, or on the Comic Book Syndicate website. I also want to thank G.I. Jolie for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll have you on again. And you can pick next time if you'd like.
Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, number 2.
There you go! Volume 2, number 1. All right,
I need for Mike Dell to meet Max.
There you go. Like I said, Mike Dell, there's plenty more Amethyst to come. So until next Tuesday, disperse!
Holy shit.